Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming to play with the ideas that I present on my channel. Happy 4th of July, 2022. This is part 2 of a meditation that I did with a designer from the 1930s whose name was Russel Wright. But he talked about egalitarianism, which is absolutely fascinating and so timely to where we're at right now. So let's listen to what he said. I did break this down into 2 pieces because it really is so important about the contrast of the greed and poverty in our country right now. So if you listen to the first message on egalitarianism, it was that there was a group of designers and politicians, actually, the Roosevelts were part of this group, that had, in a prehistory sense, had decided to come in and be adults in the 1930s in order to offer a more true interpretation in a materialistic sense of what the Declaration of Independence really said about all people being created equal. He says, the group that enacted the egalitarianism movement of the 30s was timed with the economic collapse. That collapse had to happen in order to revamp social and economic structure. I mean, I just can't believe how timely this is for like right now. He said, there are people that are going to recognize that this is the time to revive egalitarianism concepts. And it does not mean socialistic concepts, has nothing to do with the political parties, but it does resemble the initial idea of democracy. The group of designers had, well, they were focused on the home place. And this has got to become a very strong focus again. The home has to be a place where we live, not just a place where we sleep. I mean, people don't eat in their homes anymore. But of course, with COVID, we all did stay home, didn't we? But the design was to stimulate an aesthetic and good design in the home place again. That's what his design was about. That was so important to him as a designer. And if you ever see any of Russel Wright's work, you won't believe how perfectly true and beautiful his design was. But the tenets set forth in the decade of the 30s, which is sometimes called the seminal decade in this country, has mainly now been perverted in our society. Greed being the competitiveness and the cutthroat approach to devaluing life and lifestyle. Our lifestyle has been devalued to the point where it's non-existent, primarily because of fear and the worship and involvement with greed. So when you see a concept like greed enter the mind of a society, it gets shared. So even people who may not be particularly greedy themselves, when put into a situation where there's nothing but greed around them, will respond to that shared ideal. And I couldn't even believe that explanation for what's going on in this country right now, with people worshiping things that don't benefit them. You know, it doesn't, this makes more sense just because of the influence of greed in society in general right now. But Russel Wright certainly wants us to know that we now have the focus again of all of these people who were knowledgeable and powerful at that time in the 30s. We have them trying to help us right now. You can be sure of having our help in every area. You only have to be sure and remain receptive to, if we did this as a society, we would see some of these concepts of egalitarianism be revived. This group will try and reach people all over the world right now to help us with what's going on. But I just wanted to close this again with the information, the way he described the cyclical aspect of the relationship between the greed movement of extreme wealth and extreme poverty and recession. That I really wanted to end with that again. There is so much greed influence here in the country. It was easy to foster, even back at the turn of the century up to the 20s, because there was so much abundance in this country. It was tremendously easy with the Industrial Revolution for this greed movement to occur in the United States. But it's actually, again, at its height right now. It will be broken apart, even though the greed influence is very strong here, but it will lose its power. But then the greed may cycle back again, and we will see greed, recession, until greed loses its power over the individual thought processes. So thank you for coming to consider these ideas. There was a lot about design, a lot about the actual group that came in the 30s that actually came in to promote egalitarianism in this country. But I just wanted to present the very basis of these ideas as we're seeing. This is such a hard, incredibly difficult time for us to witness everything that's going on around us, and yet hold faith that there's a reason for this, that there's some positive way to move forward for humanity. So I wanted to offer this idea, perhaps to help us feel a little bit better, that history doesn't have to repeat itself over and over and over. Maybe at some point, humanity will learn about egalitarianism. All right, take care, my friends. And until I see you again, please be well and please be blessed. Again, my website is howspiritworks.com. And I am doing a blog now, very separate from these videos. So if you want, doing very short thematic blog videos. So if you want to sign up for that, you can through my website. Take care.